There is a force inside you. This is not a metaphor. This is not poetry. This is a real biological, psychological, and spiritual force. It shows up in your hunger for progress. It shows up in your instinct to protect. It shows up in your drive to create. It shows up in your desire to build, to conquer. This force shows up whenever you want to overcome obstacles. We're going to give it a name. We're going to call it the beast. But here is a problem. Modern men have been conditioned to hide the beast. You've been told that your ambition is too aggressive. Your boundaries are controlling, and your confidence is ego. And your strength is toxic. And so now we have a generation of men who scroll more than they act, who talk more than they train, men who apologize for wanting to lead. This episode is about changing that. Not by glorifying aggression, but by learning how to channel it. Not by suppressing your feelings, but by turning them into fuel. Because a man cannot lead if he cannot feel. And he cannot feel if he has killed his inner fire. So we're going to look at the shadow self. We're calling it the shadow self. This is a Jungian terminology. Those of you who know about how to integrate the shadow, you may already have an idea about what the shadow is. So let's break down what Carl Jung, one of the most important thinkers in psychology of identity and motivation, said. Carl Jung said that one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. So what does that mean? It means, gentlemen, that you cannot become whole by just being good. You become whole when you recognize, confront, and integrate the parts of yourself that you are ashamed of. And which parts of these that most of us are ashamed of? Anger, sexual energy, competitiveness, ambition, fear. These are some of the parts of ourselves that most of us are ashamed of. Sometimes you are ashamed of this because of the formative years of education you had. Most of us, at least the younger guys particularly, you had your kindergarten, baby class, you are given by the women who are the teachers. And these women will shame you for being competitive. You'll be told to listen to other people. Okay? And if you are raised by a single mother, you become ashamed of your sexual energy. You'll hear her talking very badly about men and their sexual energy. And that is why a number of people also who are raised by single mothers, a number of boys, they also end up becoming gay or homosexual because they suppress their heterosexual desires and they end up either becoming more feminine or they go to the opposite side. So these traits that I've just mentioned, anger, sexual energy, competitiveness, ambition, and fear. They are not evil. They only become destructive when they are repressed, unrecognized, or shamed. This is what the psychologist John Bradshaw called toxic shame. In his book, Healing the Shame That Binds You. So, toxic shame says that you are not good enough. Toxic shame is going to tell you that you don't deserve love unless you play small. Toxic shame will tell you that your masculinity is a threat. And when people talk about toxic masculinity, it's part of the sign language. It is a shaming tactic. So that is how men lose their center. Not because they are weak, but because they have been taught to fear their own strength. So we're going to look at toxic shame in action and the nice guy trap. One of the best books about the nice guy phenomenon is Robert Glover's book, No More Mr. Nice Guy. And Dr. Robert Glover explains brilliantly. He shows how many men are raised to believe that being low conflict is equal to being a good man. Being low conflict basically means you are avoiding conflict, you are avoiding rocking the boat. You'll be disrespected, you'll be slighted, someone will mistreat you, but you'll keep quiet. You suppress your anger because you want to be nice. You don't want to create conflict. So Robert Glover also shows how men are raised to believe that saying yes is equal to being kind. You allow exploitative relationships. You tolerate bullshit. You accept any kind of unrealistic request because you want to be nice. The other thing that men are taught is that hiding your needs equals being selfless. Okay? And this, of course, follows from the sacrificial example of Jesus Christ, which is ennobled. Jesus Christ, we are told, sacrificed himself for us. And many people who go to church, they grow up thinking that self-sacrifice is a noble thing. But here is a hard truth, guys. Nice guys aren't nice. They are just afraid. They suppress anger, desire, and boundaries. And underneath of all this is fear, resentment, and quiet rage. Okay? Nice guys want approval more than respect. They want peace more than purpose. They give to get, not because it is right or because they feel right about it. And these are the men who expect reciprocity in relationships. They give so much, expecting that it will be a reciprocal kind of arrangement, which they don't actually say. And every time that they betray their own truth to please others, they lose a piece of their power. So we want to look at the beast that you are running from, gentlemen. Okay? So let me give you two pictures. The first one is the volcano. Repressed emotion doesn't disappear. It builds pressure. That what doesn't come out consciously will one day erupt unconsciously. And many of these guys who you find they have committed homicide or committed suicide, they are men who repress their anger, their emotions, their frustration, their desire to enforce boundaries. They are wronged, but because they are taught that they should not create conflict because they want to be nice, they are taught that they need to say yes so that they can be considered to be kind. One day they explode and they create a lot of damage. They become a danger to themselves and others. Gentlemen, if you're enjoying this video, Please take a moment to like, subscribe, and share it. When you subscribe, you'll always be notified when I drop new content. Also, when you like and share, you help this channel to grow, and more importantly, you help other men to discover the tools that they need to level up. So remember, when one man rises, we all rise. Now let's get back to the video. So let's look at the mirror. Shadow work is looking at yourself and saying, I see the part of me that I've wanted to hide, and I am going to deal with it rather than pretend it doesn't exist. So this isn't about being brutal. This is about being honest. Carl Jung said that the most terrifying thing is to accept ourselves completely. That's why we have the shadow. Sometimes we suppress the parts of us that we are ashamed of. That's what we call the shadow. Okay? And the whole objective of being a fully integrated human being is to be able to integrate your shadow to yourself, your conscious self. Most of the times, also our triggers come from our shadow. If you join people who do meditation, a lot of it is about excavating suppressed emotions, the things you've hidden away from yourself. So, the man who has accepted himself completely is a man who no one can manipulate, because you know your strengths and your weaknesses and you cannot be triggered. So, let's look at integration. What does it mean to be a whole man? So integration doesn't mean acting out everything that you feel. It means having awareness, discipline, and courage to choose how to use your power. A man who owns his own aggression becomes a protector, not a bully. And this is something we also learn from martial arts. A man who owns his sexuality becomes grounded, not ashamed. A man who owns his ambition becomes driven, not destructive. You should be ambitious, but if your ambition controls you, you can become very destructive. That's why some people commit crime and murder just to fulfill their ambitions. In that case, your ambition is owning you, not you owning your ambition. Christine Neff, an author of Self-Compassion, he teaches that the key to shadow work is curiosity, not judgment. So, for example, you ask yourself, what am I really afraid of? Gentlemen, it's important to take your time to really get the benefit of some of these teachings or lessons. Sit alone, sit by yourself. On a weekend or even on a weekday, put off everything and ask yourself, what am I afraid of? That's how you become aware. That's how you learn who you are. What part of me am I hiding because I'm scared it will not be accepted? Real masculinity is not the suppression of emotion. It is a mastery of energy. So let's look at power, restraint, and real strength. Let's get this straight, gentlemen. You don't become virtuous by being harmless. You become virtuous by having power and choosing how to use it. If you are harmless, you're not virtuous. You're just weak. To be good, you must be capable of being a monster and then choose not to be one. So that's not an excuse for violence. That is a call to self-mastery. Peace without power is not peace. It is surrender. So let's look at why men are breaking down today. We'll look at some of the numbers, the statistics. Testosterone has dropped over 30% in the last 40 years. I told you in Unplugged One that even the grip strength of men nowadays is much, much weaker compared to the men who lived before us. Anxiety and depression in men is at an all-time high. Men nowadays are dealing with depression and anxiety. They become emotional. And men are more disconnected from purpose. People are chasing spectator sports. They're drinking a lot of alcohol. They're chasing women. They don't have a purpose. Men who live like that are also very weak and they easily slide into depression because they are not grounded. Men are more disconnected from purpose, brotherhood, and physical discipline than ever. I normally tell guys that if you're not doing hard things on a consistent basis, then you're not masculine. So we've traded challenge for comfort. We have traded purpose for dopamine. And we have traded strength for passivity. This masterclass is your wake-up call. You are not built to be numbed. You are built to rise, gentlemen. So let's talk about how you can become a full-stack man. A full-stack man is a man who is physically capable. And I normally say one of the simple baselines, if you want to know whether you're physically capable, you need to be able to do at least 30 push-ups. You need to be able to run 5 kilometers. Okay? You need to be emotionally grounded. I'll talk about emotionally grounded in another episode. So you need to be emotionally grounded, be stoic, be able to control your emotions. And most of it is just about awareness and being introspective. Pay attention to yourself. Most people who are prone to anger, people they lack awareness. You need to be financially competent. You need to learn how to save. You need to learn how to become competent. You must have a skill that people are willing to pay for. You need to learn to be spiritually centered. And spirituality is not about religion. You need to be socially rooted. You need to have a network of brotherhood. You need to be social. Don't be a loner. Lone wolves get killed. Okay? You don't need to have a best friend, but at least you must have friends, a circle of men that you can converse with, you can exchange ideas, you can network, you can build each other, and you can express your frustrations and exchange life experiences. If you've read Unplugged, you let me know, and I'll be able to add you to the group of unplugged men. So, an unplugged man doesn't kill the beast. He trains it. David Goggin calls that place the dark side, where pain becomes fuel. Jocko Willink calls it discipline equals freedom. And Jung calls it individuation. So call it whatever you want. Just don't ignore it. Don't suppress it. Don't bury it. Don't hide it. So I'm going to just take a moment to talk to you guys about how to manage your emotions. And I'm going to refer to a book by Michael Singer calls The Untethered Soul. The Untethered Soul offers a profoundly spiritual yet psychologically practical approach to managing your emotions, especially difficult ones like anger. So, Singer's central message is that you are not your emotions. You are the conscious awareness that observes them. This insight, which is simple but radical, changes how you deal with every emotional storm. Let's break it down. So the first thing is, you're not the voice in your head. Okay? Thoughts will come to your head. You can observe them. You can actually see thoughts coming like this in your head and going, even emotions. And I'm going to show you how just now. So Singer starts by helping us disidentify from our thoughts and emotions. You are not your emotions. You need to disidentify from them. Okay? You need to know the difference between I am angry and I'm feeling the anger, the emotion of anger. Those emotions are not yours. They're just happening to you. Okay? Singer says that the constant chatter in your mind, which is the inner critic, the defensive justifier, and the emotional narrator is not you. Okay? Some people call it the monkey mind. It's like a monkey that is jumping in your mind. There is nothing more important to true growth than realizing that you are not the voice in your head. You are the one who hears it. This shift allows you to observe anger instead of becoming anger. Instead of saying, I am angry, you begin to notice there is anger rising within me. That small linguistic shift is spiritually massive. It moves you from being actor to being the witness. The second thing that Singer tells us or teaches us is that emotions are energy that must flow. So he describes emotions as energetic patterns that pass through your heart and mind. When you resist or suppress them by clinging, blaming, or denying, you trap that energy within you. Over time, this builds psychological tension and emotional blockage. And sometimes people also say that you can tell from someone's resting facial expression what kind of feelings they are suppressing within them. So Singer says that if you resist life, you are resisting energy and you are holding it down. The energy wants to come up and pass through you. It's like an electric current. You said it's energy. So just feel it, let it pass. So when anger arises, gentlemen, the healthy move is not to fight it, justify it, or even dump it on someone else, but to let it move through you. You should breathe, relax your body, and witness the emotions' full passage until it dissipates naturally. This is emotional alchemy. It's about transforming pain into freedom. The third thing that Singer tells us is that the heart is a valve. You need to keep it open. Singer says that your heart is like a valve that either opens or closes in response to life's experiences. Anger is what happens when that valve slams shut in defense. But when you keep the heart open, even in discomfort, you allow emotional energy to flow and release. So you need to keep your heart open. Just let it flow. Okay? Learn to stop closing your heart in reaction to things you don't like. If you choose to stay open, you can remain in a state of love and peace. So this doesn't mean allowing abuse or suppressing boundaries. It means refusing to let external events dictate your inner state. You stay grounded and aware, no matter how turbulent the outside world becomes. The fourth thing that Singer tells us is that freedom lies beyond the trigger. Singer teaches that your emotional triggers reveal what still on you. When anger erupts, it is a mirror showing you where you are still attached or fearful. You can use your life to free yourself rather than to build your personality. So many people say that, mimi hivi ndio vile nimezaliwa, my dad was like this, so this is how I grew up, watu wa kwetu wako hivyo. I repeat, you can use your life to free yourself rather than to build your personality. Don't hang on to things. Become free, open your heart. Every moment of irritation becomes a spiritual gym. It is an invitation to practice letting go. There's a book called Let Them, which is also very interesting. So instead of reacting, you can relax, release, and watch the trigger dissolve. This repeated act builds emotional mastery and inner sovereignty. So the fifth thing that Singer teaches us is that you need to let go. Don't control, just let go. Singer's ultimate advice is radical surrender. You stop trying to control the world to feel okay. Instead, you let go again and again. Many people act to regulate their own emotions. Singer teaches you to just let go. Okay? Many times you act so that you can feel better. Like if you feel anger, you want to slap somebody so that you can feel better. Let the anger flow. So the moment you're willing to accept what is, you open the door to freedom. So if someone is just silly and annoying and obnoxious, let them. It is not your job or your mission in life to change them. Okay? When you drop your demand for things to be your way, your anger loses its oxygen. You stop defending your ego, and peace becomes your default state. So, in practice, managing anger the Singer way has four things. The first one is to pause. You need to notice the right intention when you're getting angry or frustrated. Just pause, take a deep breath. The second thing, you need to breathe and relax. Don't contract your muscles or your heart. The biological impulse will release adrenaline so that you're ready for fight or flight. And then observe. Watch the feeling as a witness. Your thoughts, just watch them come into your mind and go. Don't be a victim. Be an observer. And also, the fourth thing is you need to allow. Let it move through without resistance. And the fifth one is you need to release. And when it fades, feel the openness that remains. So this aligns with the masculinity lessons that I've been teaching, because to be untethered is to be unreactive. A stoic man is non-reactive. The man who can feel anger without being enslaved by it is the one who cannot be manipulated by women, by society, or by his own ego. He moves from emotional reactivity to sovereign control. So true strength, Singer reminds us, is not suppression, but awareness. It is a mastery of the inner world that allows you to conquer the outer one. So gentlemen, I want to hear from you. What part of your shadow are you ready to face? What have you been repressing? Is it anger? Is it sexuality? Is it ambition? Or is it truth? What does your beast look like? And what will it mean to master it instead of denying it? Drop your thoughts in the comment section below. This isn't about sounding smart. It's about getting real and getting better. So get unplugged, and I'll see you on the next one.